Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jim McCall with DMEI. We've got a great webinar scheduled for you today, Broadcast to Engagement, How DMOs Can Engage Travelers Through TripAdvisor. Just a couple housekeeping notes before we get started. We will be recording today's webinar. We'll email out a copy of that recording roughly 4 business days from now, along with a copy of the presentation slides. You can submit questions throughout the webinar using the questions panel on the GoTo dashboard. I will be monitoring those questions and feeding them up to our panelists at the end of the presentation. And without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Paul Ouimet.
Well, thanks, Jim, and hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this very interesting webinar. I'd like to begin by just welcoming our 2 speakers today. Stephen Paganelli, the Head of Destination Marketing for the Americas with TripAdvisor, and Ariane Hiltebrand, the Digital Marketing Manager with the Sonoma County Tourism. So we're looking forward to their 2 presentations. I just wanted to say that in the work that we've done on destination during the past 2 years, this is a very, very important topic. When we analyzed all of the trends in about 18 months ago, we determined that the first really significant opportunity, transformational opportunity, was for DMOs to move from broadcast to engagement. And with the growth and evolution of the peer-to-peer networks and with such a transparent marketplace that we have today, this is really a critical topic for DMOs. So we believe that this is one of the 3 major opportunities that DMOs around the world have to effectively address. So on that basis, I'd like to turn it over to Stephen to give us his presentation.
Thank you, Jim, Paul, and actually the entire DMEI team for coordinating today. I appreciate it. We will get this presentation rolling here. All right, and especially thanks to all of you on the line. Let's see. All of you on the line for your interest in engaging travelers through TripAdvisor, and especially for taking an hour out of your day to listen to little old me, actually. As Paul said, I'm Steve Paganelli, Head of Destination Marketing for the Americas for TripAdvisor. And I've spent the past 22 years working for or with DMOs. So I'm actually quite passionate about this space and very excited to be talking with you today. Approximately a year ago, we set out to learn the latest thinking from DMOs on their digital marketing efforts. And at the same time, asked consumers engaging with DMO content on TripAdvisor what they were seeking and finding most useful. I'll share the learnings from those efforts, along with some pretty significant changes we made on our end as a result. And then from there, we'll hear from Ariane Hiltebrand of Sonoma County Tourism, who will share their approach to content marketing and development. As I said, we started by surveying our DMO contacts all over the world, and actually believe this to have been one of the world's largest surveys of the DMO industry, with 365 DMO respondents. So a fairly brilliant response rate there. As you can see, we had solid representation from the Americas, APAC, and EMA, as well as from DMOs of all budget ranges, from sub 1 million to tens of millions, a range that DMEI actually verified aligns with their assessment of budget breakdowns across DMOs. One aspect of the survey was understanding how DMO media investments have shifted over time. I remember when I first transitioned from leading a DMO to a digital agency looking to serve DMOs, and hearing many DMOs at the time talk of sub 8% of their marketing budget being allocated online. This chart clearly shows we've come a long way as an industry, with over 65% of DMOs investing more than 21% of their funds online, and some exceeding 75%. And while this data demonstrates that digital has really come of age for DMOs, I suspect the numbers are even higher, and maybe that's something we'll be able to talk about a little later when we open it up for Q&A. With DMOs spending more and more online, we also wanted to see what was going on with their digital KPIs. A number of years ago, the core metric would simply have been website visits and maybe e-newsletter signups. But we can see from this data that the KPIs are much more complex now. Visits to the DMO website still received the top vote, but tracking incremental visitors to the destination, not an easy thing to do, but something that is getting easier, got the second vote. Appearing top of search rankings was third. Views of the right content, regardless of the platform, fourth, and that's something that we really started to see heat up, I'd say, over the last 4 years or so. Online research trends about the destination, so how users were looking for more information about your destination. The number of UGC content submissions, photos, comments, reviews, that sort of information. And rounding out the list, the number of social media followers at 7th place. There's a trend that none of these received a terrible rating, but it certainly gives some different focal points for attention at the DMO level and for those of us working with DMOs. In the last slide, we noted that views of the right content, regardless of platform, came in fourth as a KPI. This next section of the survey was designed to look at the content that you yourselves believe have the most power to influence a traveler's destination selection. Weighted first, you guys rated friends' personal recommendations. Second was video and images. Next came reviews and comments from other tourists. Social media posts were fourth. Interestingly, you put your own DMO content at 5th place, sponsored content on third-party sites at 6th, and discount offers from partners within the destination at 7th. All sections, again, scored very highly, with all activities scoring effective or higher at 75% of the votes. That feedback was then very helpful for us when reviewing our user feedback in the next section. But before that, to confirm any questions on our end, after that survey, and to get a deeper dive of what the industry thought, me and my counterparts around the world conducted a small number of one-on-one interviews with DMOs, which we followed up with a meeting of DMOs in Boston last summer. One key point we were excited to see was that there was really good global alignment, something I personally didn't expect in the industry, about what DMOs saw as present and future focus points and areas in which you're expecting to invest more time and or budget in the future. One hot topic was native advertising placement, the desire to be able to better integrate your relevant and compelling DMO content in front of users wherever they may be. This was often seen as a way to increase interaction as well as distribute your content around the web. So for those people who maybe aren't making it to your website early on in the research process, that you're getting your content in front of them. Aligning squarely with Destination Next, ROI and metrics demonstrating success was also of critical interest. What can be done to better showcase investment was the kind of repeated question we kept hearing, and virtually everyone with whom we spoke expressed a desire to shift from the old KPIs of clicks and e-newsletter signups to what comes next. And I think there was a big question mark there about what comes next. Next was mobile. Everyone noted the rapid rise of mobile usage around the world, and this shift seems to be making DMOs wonder what can be done in mobile while making sure we're targeting users of relevance. In other words, being able to split the messaging to users who are considering travel while on their mobile device versus those already traveling within your destination and on their mobile device. Cost efficiencies came next with the ever-present threat of budget freezes and reductions, something that permeates the entire globe. DMOs were keenly interested in consolidating investments, really focusing on media channels that work best and that have decent scale to minimize workloads. We also heard consistently about interest in working collaboratively or cooperatively, both with their own partners, certainly not a new trend by any stretch, but also across other DMOs, and a newer trend, but certainly not a brand new one either. And then finally, inspiration and video, reaching up that funnel of travel research, driving destination interest, and even more importantly, excitement in the brand, in that destination brand. So in summary, we heard the top 3 factors in converting interest to visitation as rated by you guys. Referrals from friends, images and videos, reviews. Critical KPIs, again, continue to be web traffic, arrivals and search rankings. Views of that right content, regardless of the platform, was 4th, with 90% agreeing it was important to extremely important. And that really resonated with us because we saw that as an area where we could really help in accomplishing that. Again, native content being important and finding that right audience, content and context. Next, we looked at the traveler perspective. Twice a year, we do a survey called the Trip Barometer. And this slide is a snapshot of the research from that study, which takes the total global audience. There are about 44,000 participants in this survey in each of the 2 waves annually that are done to generate insights into their travel planning habits and key trends for the upcoming year. Now, frankly, I always found this slide a little self-serving. I mean, after all, it's a survey of TripAdvisor users commissioned by us, so it would stand to reason that they would be bullish on TripAdvisor. However, when I began to consider the breadth of that user base, which Comscore reported just a few weeks ago represented 62% of all global travelers who are visiting TripAdvisor before booking their trip, it really put things into perspective to me. For me, TripAdvisor is no longer representative simply of a select group of travelers. It reflects the majority of travelers around the world. And for destinations, that story is even more compelling as those travelers visit many, many more sites, consume much more content, and take more time to make their destination selection. All of which means the DMO has greater opportunity to influence that traveler's selection of their destination over another. And when we look at our internal data, the basic trend we see is that people have a type of holiday in mind. Maybe they're looking for a beach getaway or a city break or a ski holiday. And they're very happy to review what different destinations have to offer before making a final choice. We then turn to looking at those users on TripAdvisor who were specifically looking at the tourism page. We ran a live on-site survey designed to learn what that user wants and needs from DMOs. It revealed 2 groups of users, those who are already planning to go to the destination, we called them bookers, and those deciding if they should go, which we termed lookers. Almost a 50-50 split. And in fact, this 46% undecided that we see is consistent across a range of surveys conducted both by TripAdvisor and by other research firms in studies that I've seen over the last 5, 6, 7 years or so. So it tends to be a pretty consistent stat, and it also matches with what we see when we're looking at other sectors of the travel space like OTAs and airline partners. Not surprisingly, when we looked at the most useful content types, those TripAdvisor users said traveler reviews. But what was really important and what stood out for us as being squarely in the DMO's wheelhouse were 5 key areas: trip ideas and themes, photos, information from the DMO, upcoming events, and videos. One surprise was the low ranking of Facebook Friends activity in the destination. For the last several years, users have been able to log into TripAdvisor and see the reviews and feedback of their Facebook friends first. But in this study, users indicated that that wasn't of great value to them, and it's consistent with data that we looked at on that Trip Barometer data slide that I presented earlier. When then taking this data and splitting it into the 2 groups of lookers versus bookers, we see a clear trend for lookers, those still evaluating destinations. Reviews, trip ideas and themes, and official DMO information jump up in importance. They're really hungry and thirsty for why your destination is the right choice for them and being given the practical tips and tools to help plan that visit. In summary, in terms of the data, we know that TripAdvisor drives inspiration and also destination selection. DMO content by our users is seen as relevant. There's a clear content streams that the DMO can use to help influence travelers on TripAdvisor in a manner that is complementary to sort of our core user-generated content value proposition, if you will. So our goal was from there to focus on these points and look at how we evolve the work that we do with destinations and to, frankly, bridge the learnings from our DMO partners with the learnings from actual travelers. The good news is that there's a clear shared focus between those travelers and DMOs. The travelers are seeking inspiration, they're looking to discover new places, and I think more than at any other time in travel sort of history, they're looking for new experiences. There is an adventurousness that travelers hold today that I think differs from the vacations of old. At the same time, DMOs are looking to engage those consumers and get content that responds to those objectives of inspiration and discovery and experience, all while moving that traveler down the booking funnel towards activation, beyond consideration of your destination to ultimate selection and visitation. So when we thought about our work with DMOs, our focus was really to expand the nature of our relationship. Historically, DMO content was limited just to that tourism page that we surveyed users on. However, the types of content and information you have are useful to visitors at all stages of that planning cycle. And so our charge to ourselves was, how do we gain more exposure for our DMO partners across the breadth of our site, across restaurants and attractions, within forums, within the emails that we generate. That led us to rethink the positioning of destinations on TripAdvisor and the creation of an entirely new section dedicated exclusively to DMO content. So in this section, you see no push to particular hotels, no mention of booking flights or those kinds of activities. It really is a hub for your content, your overview of the destination, and what we think are far more robust content areas than we've ever offered before for destinations. The first of these is a new offering that we call Collections. If you think of these as sort of the top 10 lists that you see across the internet, it's your chance to digest for travelers your destination and to synthesize into key themes, and again, trip ideas, as we talked about earlier from the research, that makes it easier for them to understand the types of experience that they might have there. And we pair your feedback about those particular points of interest with actual user reviews and ratings. The next offering are what we call articles. This is the opportunity for the destination to dig a little deeper and provide more insights on particular areas of interest and motivation for travelers. In this example from Bermuda, we see the Art Lover's Guide to a Day in Bermuda, where they're talking about all of the different artistic pursuits that are available to visitors to Bermuda. These article sections can link directly to the DMO's website, they can link to your partner sites, or they can link to partners' listings on TripAdvisor. And they really are limited only by your own creativity in terms of what are the sort of unique selling propositions for your destination. If you're a big destination in terms of microbrewing, this article might be that. It might be about planning destination weddings in Maui, for instance, or a family reunion in Springfield, Missouri. Next are events, something we've always offered for destinations, but we've kind of expanded that offering, giving the opportunity for destinations to list more events, and again, a bit of a more robust presentation of that event content. As we've seen in study after study for, frankly, as long as I've been in the destination space, events are a core demand driver for destinations. It adds urgency to that traveler who's thinking about a trip to, in this example, Bermuda, and moving them towards actual call to action, a particular date, a particular event that they might want to attend. As I mentioned earlier, a key piece of this effort has been to get that DMO content spread across the site. So now places that you include in your articles or in collections will be tagged as such, so that as users are moving throughout the website and encountering those places, they're cross-pollinated. They're driven back into those articles and collections that you created to learn more, to engage more with your content. Also on forums, which I kind of think of as the place where travelers ask buying questions. How do I get from Kyoto to Tokyo? What is there for my 16-year-old to do on a trip to Alaska? We're placing the DMO's content front and center, giving the user the ability to get off to your website, to send you an email, to download your official visitor's guide, or to link to up to 5 of your social channels. As mentioned, getting the DMO's content into newsletters was also critical, so we've created placements within our Best of Destination newsletter. This is a newsletter that gets triggered to select users after they've viewed your content on TripAdvisor. It's designed to encourage them to continue to explore your destination and ultimately to decide to visit. We're also working on getting many of these components into our mobile platforms. TripAdvisor continues to be the largest travel app globally, and so you'll see some core elements included within both mobile web and mobile app, with more coming throughout the year. To manage all of that content, and we know that you're managing across many places these days, we are also launching and have launched a new destination management center. It's here where you can change out content at your leisure, at your preference. So whether that's seasonally or more frequently, whether you want to theme all of your content around a big event that's coming up within your destination so that photos and videos and articles are all tied to it, that power all exists within this management center. And accompanying that management center is a new destination dashboard, providing our most granular level of data ever. The opportunity for a destination not just to see what kind of traffic is getting into their destination pages, but which content users are finding most engaging and compelling, which are they spending the most time with, which are they sharing with others, so that you can make informed decisions about how you prioritize content and what other content you might develop as a result of these learnings. Also within the destination dashboard is deeper information on how users are interacting with your destination in general across TripAdvisor. Which origin markets are changing in terms of visitation and traffic? Which competitive markets are users looking at during the same user session as they're looking at yours? And how are those things changing across platforms, again, across markets? With that, I am excited to turn it over to Ariane Hildebrand, who will talk more about the practical aspects of managing a content program. And Ariane, you should be able to take over here momentarily.
Yes, thank you very much, Steve. Hi, everybody. So I'm just waiting for the presenter mode. There you go. Do you see my screen?
You sure do.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Ariane Hildebrand with Sonoma County Tourism here in California. And before I start, I wanted to let you know first that we are a heads and bets DMO, and we are non-membership based. So this is going to be interesting for you as you follow along. So I want to go back to the basics of content strategy. I like to use the 5 C's, the customize, collaborate, curate, create, communicate. And we have a steady ocean wave of content. So let's dive into customize. We have a really customer-centric approach to content. So we develop personas and target audiences to find out what our customers would want. Our main persona is the boomer couple, because those affluent people like to come to wine country, but then we also have niche personas and target audiences. We use Google Analytics a lot to identify the high traffic drivers on the internet and to our website, and we also use quarterly agency reports from our digital agency Miles Media to help us with SEO, ranking in Google, and search volume that's out there on the internet. So they really help us identifying what kind of keywords people are typing in, what kind of content they're looking for, and what we might be missing on our website, what they're looking for. And then with that kind of report, I can go ahead and assign content pieces to my freelance writers to make sure we develop those content pieces for people. And then we also do customer surveys on our website and in-person surveys to really find out what do customers want. So the next step is collaborate. That means we as a team, we have about 7 members here in our PR marketing team. We collaborate on all of the content together. We actually have a little breakout content team with 4 staff members where we meet every couple of months to look at different angles. What do our local businesses want to push out in terms of content? What do the customers want? What do journalists want? So we try to get it all together to make sure we're writing the appropriate content. We also have an annual themes calendar, which doesn't really change very much from year to year because it really points out for each month what the main themes are that people will want to look for in our destination. For example, right now in May, we have a lot of gardens and Mother's Day, and there are certain wine and food festivals that are coming up. So we know that this is happening, and then we can write new content for these kind of themes so that PR can use them, that advertising can use them, and then we can use them in digital as well. We also have smaller versions of editorial calendars depending on the mediums, but we also as a team work with just an Outlook calendar in our email program to look at things that are ready to go in terms of content that have been published on our website in terms of blogs and articles, and we publish new things every day or updated articles. So the Outlook calendar tells our staff what's ready to go and what they can promote and push out. So a very big part of our collaboration is our Sonoma Insiders. We have about 10 freelance writers here in our destination. Some of them have worked for us for 10 years already, and they each have their own topics assigned. One is a wine writer, one is a food writer, one is outdoors. So they have their specialties, and they will write blog posts for us on monthly basis, so several blog posts a month. And then they also write articles depending on the SEO needs I've assigned to them. Then next thing, we have videos and photo productions with local videographers, and we try to do one new video a month that we can use on our website and on social. All right, next thing is curate. That's pretty straightforward. Most of you will do that already. You really try to gather news and PR from your local businesses. We here have over 400 wineries in Sonoma County. We have thousands of restaurants and hotels, obviously, and lots of other activity-based businesses. So we try to gather as much information from them as we can, and we use this information in our content. We share their videos and their photos on social and on our website, and then also we have a user-generated content platform with third-party Shadow Rock on our website, and we try to get really nice pictures from customers who've been in the area and showcase them in our social hub streams, and those streams will show up on our homepage and on other microsites throughout the site. And we're just building a contest page this week where people can upload pictures depending on our advertising campaign that we're doing right now. All right, the next one is create. I've already touched on that a little bit. What I want to really point out here is the evergreen articles on our website are what I call our race horses in terms of traffic and also conversions. So the evergreen articles, the one that you see here on the right, is the 13 Sonoma County wineries you should know. This article has consistently been for years, for 3 years I would say, the one article that drives the most traffic articles. And we have about 400 articles on our website at this point. So what we do with these articles, since we know that about 70 to 80% of our website visitors are sort of new visitors to our website and maybe even to the destination, they really want more of this broader content because they have no clue about those 425 wineries. They need this broken down to just 13 that they should maybe visit. So this is why this is so interesting to them. So what we do with these articles, we have an update schedule where we put those 400 articles into monthly buckets, and then there is a freelance writer who is editing these monthly buckets once a year. So each article gets edited once a year at least, and then once she's done the end of the month, I will push these articles out again through social media and e-newsletters and those kinds of things, because the optimization of our best performing articles is really the most important thing that drives even more traffic and that gets them ranking higher in Google. So next to the articles, obviously, we have the blog posts, as I said before, about specific things that are coming up, maybe events or new restaurants that happen. So this is the kind of content for people that are coming back and they want more granular content. Multi-day itineraries are really performing very well to get people interested in maybe extending their stay and staying longer. So we group those itineraries into different themes, like culinary trips or a trip for outdoor lovers, or now even in May we have a 3-day trip with your mom, those kind of things. And then, as I said before, we do videos, photos, news releases. They're also geared towards the same kind of content. And then we have our regular guide and the maps. So I can't stress enough, don't forget your update schedule on your evergreen articles. And then we go to the next one, communicate. So you see a picture of our Sonoma newsletter here. So this is pretty straightforward. There again, we have a very website-centric strategy on our content. Everything, most of what we do goes back to the website. So our social media ads, social media posts, the e-newsletters, all of these kinds of content go back to our website. But we do more and more placements of our content on different platforms where we cannot track them directly back to our website, because we saw that this brings a lot of awareness to our destination, inspires people, and it's great to work with big platforms like TripAdvisor, for example, because we know that the #1 website that people go to after they've been on our website is TripAdvisor. So there, it totally makes sense to continue the conversation and engage people even more. And we also have other content distribution channels like arrival guides, where we put content on their digital guides that go out internationally. So those kind of content placements are very important for us. And let's go directly into what we do on TripAdvisor. So Steve has already showed you our overall Sonoma County pages and the collections and the articles that you can do on TripAdvisor. So I just wanted to let you know how we decide on what goes on there. So there again, we go back into our Google Analytics and we look at the best performing content in terms of traffic on our own website. And then we also think national and broad interest, because we know that many of these people on the TripAdvisor website, they might not know very much about Sonoma County yet, so they need, again, they're overwhelmed with 425 wineries. They need this broken down to just 13. So that's why we take the same best performing article again from our website, the 13 wineries you should know, and this becomes part of the collections for TripAdvisor. So on this slide, on the left side, we see the SonomaCounty.com article, and on the right, we see the TripAdvisor article. Well, this is actually the collection, as I was saying. It's the TripAdvisor collection. So what we did here, we pretty much just took the intro sentences from our own article and put them on the TripAdvisor platform. And then we use those 13 wineries that we have, but we don't use our text. We use the text that's on the TripAdvisor website and actually link them back to the profiles on TripAdvisor. So with this collection article, all the links stay within TripAdvisor, and that's great because, as I said before, TripAdvisor is a perfect platform for those customers to interact and engage more. And if they want to get a visitor guide from Sonoma County, they can then click through those kind of links. So the other one is the articles itineraries, for example. This works a little bit differently. Again, on the left side, the Sonoma County article. This is an itinerary, wine tasting itinerary, Sonoma Valley and beyond. And on the right side, the TripAdvisor.com piece. I've just cut out a piece of it. It's not the complete article. So here, we've taken our entire text and put it on TripAdvisor. And even links that we had in there, we probably have about 30 to 40 links that link back to places on our own website. These links stay intact within the TripAdvisor article. And to make sure that we don't get penalized by Google, the end of the article states that it's syndicated from, and it gives the complete URL back to our Sonoma County page. So, and that is enough for Google. So in the future, we'll develop more content. This was just to get started, really. And I just wanted to share some results with you just in terms of our overall content marketing, which we really started about 4 years ago. So we see an almost 400% traffic growth to our website within 4 years of content marketing, which is really, really impressive. And we also know that content and organic search accounts for 70% of the website traffic coming in. And this might be very surprising to some of the DMOs. We also know that the content organic search is the #1 source for visitor guide orders, email signups, and accommodation views on our website. And more than 3 times more print guide and print map orders have resulted from this content marketing on our website in the last 4 years. So last but not least, we're very excited about the participation in TripAdvisor's content program to drive more growth in the future. And that is pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Very exciting, Ariane. Thanks for sharing that. You obviously have a very mature content marketing program. And I can't quite recall, Ariane, were you there when Sonoma really started to pursue a content marketing strategy?
Yeah, I started here in 2012, and I was tasked right away with finding a vendor to rebuild the entire website because our website was pretty much just a few intro paragraphs and a lot of listings, thousands and thousands of listings pages. So, but then we had a separate blog page inside Sonoma where we tried to put those interesting content nuggets on. But so I was fortunate enough to run into Miles right away at my first conference, and we signed up for a complete website redevelopment with Miles, and they came right away with the good content strategy too, which we could really build out and develop over the next 4 years, and this has tremendously helped us with everything.
So would you say that at that point you started sort of small and then grew into what you have today, or because of the guidance that you got, you were able to launch a pretty sophisticated program right out of the gate?
Yeah, I mean, I must say that the guidance was very crucial at that point in time, and then obviously from there, our team learned a lot more about how content marketing works from different avenues, and we were quickly able to ramp everything up.
Great, great. Well, I know that we are going to open the floor to questions from participants, so I will turn it back over to Paul and Jim to lead us in that.
Thank you so much, Steve. I think one of the biggest questions that we're getting from folks is what are the costs associated with DMOs getting this sort of content up on the TripAdvisor pages?
Sure. One of the great things about this is that it is based on the traffic to the destination. So it's a very scalable offering. We have very small destinations that start as little as $5,000 and go up from there depending on traffic and what their objectives are. We do take a very kind of customized approach. As you can imagine, what we've looked at here is really reaching that audience that is at least aware of the destination to some degree. They've searched for that destination on Google and arrived at the destination page on TripAdvisor, or they've searched within TripAdvisor to navigate to that destination's content. And so sort of, I always think about a DMO's objectives as being twofold. One is to capture that inherent demand, convert interest from those people that are already aware of the destination to actual visitation. The other, and you could argue it is perhaps even more important, is that effort to drive new consideration, new incremental visitation, that's sort of the creating demand side of the equation. And so when we're working with destinations, we're working very closely on achieving both those objectives. And so when you're focused on driving new consideration of the destination, you can imagine how funneling them into this kind of content can really get them excited about something they hadn't been considering previously.
That's great. And you mentioned when you were showing the results of your research that the DMOs rank themselves rather low when talking about content that influences travelers' decisions. I'm just curious at all, when you did your focus groups individually with some of the DMOs, did they talk at all about why that was?
Well, and I want to clarify, they didn't, all of those things that they listed as driving visitation, they listed rather high. They just listed a few things above their own material. So, when we talked with them one-on-one, I think it was the recognition that travelers are visiting a lot of different places throughout that travel research and planning process, of which the DMO site and visitor's guide are just, a selection of the resources they're using. So I think that it seemed to me that they had a sort of healthy sense of being an important part, but a part of that larger landscape that travelers are utilizing.
Got it. So you, Steve, talked a bit about KPIs and the discussion around what the best KPIs are for measuring your market and your content strategy. So I wanted to ask Ariane if you could share what sort of KPIs you're using to measure the effectiveness of your content marketing.
Yeah, as I was saying before, so we really look at our analytics, and so we have our goals set up in Google Analytics, lots of them. So we still look at the metrics like how many visitor guides get requested. And as I was saying, our content marketing has tripled visitor guide requests over the last 4 years. And then e-news sign-ups, and also accommodation views on our website are really important, and they have skyrocketed also because we are not so, we know that we are not the best booking site out there, and we do not want to invest in keeping, competing with everybody. So for us, it's the most important thing is driving customers to our hotel accommodation websites, and then let those people maybe go over to TripAdvisor and take a look at how well those hotels are ranked, and then book through their own channels of choice.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset. I think this is a question that a lot of DMOs are going to have, and Ariane, it'd be great to get your thoughts on this. But what kind of time commitment does it take from your team to keep TripAdvisor updated with fresh content?
Yeah, we have our advertising traffic coordinator is currently the person who actually puts in the content, but I'm the one strategizing on what kind of content goes in there. And we really just have put the first set of content in there, so we're getting ready to take a look at the numbers and see what's been interesting to people, and then change out some of those collections and articles.
And you mentioned that TripAdvisor is not the only external platform that you're sharing content on. You talked about a couple other ones, including Arrival Guides.
Yeah, that was Arrival Guides, exactly.
Are you sharing the same content across that platform, or are you trying to discern for each different one what type of content you should be providing?
Yeah, well, the content has to be formatted differently depending on what kind of platform it is that you're putting it on. So Arrival Guides works differently. They actually have more like a mini version of our own visitor guide. So our visitor guide has 200 pages, and the Arrival Guides is more like 30 pages. So we had to rewrite and reformat content for them. So it's not so much an article style that they have. They have more those information nuggets.
Okay, so this is something that you would put into your content strategy every year, is what type of content is going to be across those multiple channels, and then assign responsibility within your team.
Yeah, the most important thing is really to think about content as something fluid and shareable. So you need to write, each piece of content needs to be there in different formats. So you have a really long version maybe that sits on your website, and then you can scale it down to a shorter version for maybe the this website, and then a slightly changed one for TripAdvisor, and then you use those different content nuggets.
Yeah, that is a great way to think about it. Steve, a question for you about the dashboard tool. What sort of competitive set information is available for DMOs on the dashboard?
Yeah, sure. So we report on, and they can sort, the DMO can sort by period of time what other destinations the traveler is looking at during the same user session. We'll also be able to report soon on booking activity at the destination level and how that's changing. And then finally, or well, not finally, because there's a whole lot of information in there, but also how markets are changing in terms of content consumption for that destination. Which markets are seeing increased interest? Which markets are seeing decreased interest? Are there causes that the DMO can readily identify for that, or does it raise an area that requires attention? Is there something that's contributing to it that's not on the DMO's radar? And you know, we can work with them to try to help them understand that.
One of the things that was noticed when looking at the TripAdvisor content platforms is that there didn't seem to be any images or videos within the articles. Is that something that's possible?
Yeah, so articles themselves do not have images or videos, although that is planned for phase 2 this year. There are other components to that, actually, where photos and videos do live, and in the interest of time, I didn't go through all of the components. The DMO does actually have the opportunity to influence the first photos that a user sees of the destination, so it really helps to shape that traveler's understanding of the destination. Those are shown before the UGC photos, and similarly, they have the opportunity to include videos within that carousel, again, to sort of showcase the destination from their perspective.
In terms of analytics, is there a way to show what people are searching for within a destination, perhaps in the forum section or throughout the content?
Not directly. So within forums, one of the things that we encourage destinations to do, and I was just talking with someone from Newport County, Rhode Island last week, actually, is to actively monitor forums. If you think about the time that gets expended on monitoring various social channels, forums, like I said, is the place where users are asking those buying questions. They've got you know, specific questions questions about how to visit the destination. And there is absolutely no cost for a destination to respond to those questions, to provide information to those visitors, but also to utilize it as a resource for the types of conversations that travelers are having. Is there a particular topic that is sort of trending that you're seeing come up that perhaps reflects an area where you may want to incorporate content on your website, or perhaps you might want to develop articles to dive deeper into because it seems to be a topic of interest to many travelers. So that's an area where a DMO can very easily not only monitor but participate in the conversation. In terms of searches, we don't currently have the ability to report on the various kinds of searches that a traveler is doing for a particular destination. What I can say is that travelers, when they go into sections like attractions and restaurants, they do tend to very quickly be filtering or sorting their information based on their user interests. So if I'm someone interested in the arts, I'm going to sort of pare down that list. I might start by looking at an overall listing of attractions by rankings, but then I will very quickly sort of begin to filter down to those sorts of things that are of interest to me based on my travel habits and behaviors.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you were just mentioning, and it's the fact that DMO should, in your opinion and mine, be spending more time in these forums to learn more about the traveler mindset. And I think one of the things that we've learned in Destination Next, and Paul might want to touch on this, is that it's not just learning about their experiences and what they're looking for to shift your content strategy, but also for product development within the destination to see what travelers are looking for, what they like, what they don't like, and use that in a product development strategy to really develop your destination to evolve around those traveler needs. Paul, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Jim. I think in the work that a lot of DMOs and communities are doing now in terms of tourism master planning, that type of input from visitors would be very, very useful to try to identify what the gaps are in terms of the current product and attraction service offerings that we're seeing in different destinations. I think that's we're going to see a lot more of that in the future, because that's a much more critical input than just having local community leaders trying to figure out what the marketplace is really expecting from these various destinations.
Well, and to add to that, because I know that, you know, just putting on my DMO hat of old, I mean, the thing I sit here and listen to is, wow, that's a lot of work. How do I, you know, maybe with a bureau of 2 or 3 or 4 staff members manage all of these things? I thought it was interesting that Kristen Adamo from Providence spoke about, you know, they use their visitor information counselors, and that's who's monitoring their forums. It seems to me that of the DMOs that we work with, many have limited staff, and the ones that are succeeding best are the ones that are finding creative ways to sort of distribute that workload, whether it's across folks like their visitor information counselors, or even for things like articles, utilizing their industry partner base to you know, be a guest author of an article. How terrific to have a behind-the-scenes article of, you know, your zoo or aquarium written by the director of that zoo or aquarium. So you know, that's one of the ways I think that DMOs are making it more manageable to take advantage of some of the opportunities like these that are out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ariane, I want to ask you about, you mentioned that the itineraries were a popular content strategy for you guys, and you talked about a couple of themed itineraries, you know, the wine tours, the adventure. I'm wondering if you've ever explored any sort of storytelling itineraries, so any type of ways to combine interests, so that if I'm coming to your destination, I'm interested in not only wine, but also adventure and maybe food as well, if you've done any itineraries to try to tie all those together.
Yeah, we usually, I mean, our itineraries, they start with a theme, but we always give people other options too. For example, if we have a culinary itinerary for 3 days, I mean, you cannot eat 24 hours nonstop for 3 days. That's impossible. So we always throw in those activities that you can do to burn your calories, like going to the regional parks and going kayaking and those kind of things. And then we always mention our arts and our museums that you can look at. And then, of course, our hotels, at the end of each day, we give them a few ideas of which hotels they could book while they're in the area. And then we have a map at the bottom of the itinerary that shows them pretty much all the places that we've mentioned in the itineraries and all the activities and all the wineries and all the hotels, so they can click on the map and they can go back to Google and even do their own drive itineraries and those kind of things. So that's been really successful.
I love that. Although I'm going to take you up on your challenge to eat for 3 days straight while I'm in your destination.
I was thinking the exact.
We've got someone on the webinar who's a big fan of your blog platform. I want to know if that's a tie-in or if that's something that you built from scratch.
So our Sonoma Insiders, that's what we call our blog. So as I said before, we've probably had a blog for many, many years. It was called the Inside Sonoma blog, and then in 2012 we incorporated that into our website. So we're actually pretty much using some of the same bloggers that we've had for many years. It just looks differently on our website, and it's integrated throughout, actually. For example, if you're landing on an article about wine or a listing page about wine, on the right side we have a section where the blog posts that relate to wine also appear. So you can jump right from the article or the listing into the last post about maybe a brand new winery that just opened. So that's from the insider perspective of somebody who's actually tried those wines at that brand new winery, so you get more of an inside perspective.
That's great. Steve, here's an interesting question for you. If there's a DMO who's looking to enter a certain market, is there a way to target specific regions of the world with their content on TripAdvisor?
Yeah, absolutely. Almost all of the destinations that we work with are doing something of that kind, of that nature. But in particular, we have a lot of destinations that as they branch into even new domestic markets or new global markets, we can target users specifically in those markets and can work with them really on the messaging that's going to resonate best. For instance, we have a lot of destinations, not surprisingly, interested in the China market. And it's a different market in terms of what resonates with the Chinese traveler, what media channels they're using. So for instance, TripAdvisor is the #1 travel channel on WeChat, and it's one of the most prolific forms of communicating with Chinese travelers. So there are really great ways to sort of test a new market like Brazil, and also look at what is the interest level currently as a baseline from that market for your destination, so that you have a place from which to start and measure whether you're moving the needle.
And we do have an international audience on this webinar. Just to be clear, this platform is available for DMOs across the globe, correct?
That is correct. We operate 43 different domains now. It's sometimes hard to keep up with them, in 28 different languages. And so this platform is available on all those different domains.
All right, I think we've got time for maybe one more question, probably for Steve. For DMOs, is there a way for TripAdvisor to help them understand which of their providers or activities are reviewing better this quarter than previous? So can you tell maybe someone's made a product shift or development that their reviews are changing and reflecting that?
Yeah, we actually have a new team that's working specifically on customer insights, and one of the categories that they're working on is helping destinations to understand which of their destinations are doing well in terms of user reviews, both in terms of the quantity but also quality of those reviews. We do tend to look at it more holistically from the destination overall, but there may be opportunities to work with the destination. For instance, we work with South Africa, and a big objective of theirs was to really help lift their entire industry up in terms of the digital space, and in particular the world of online reviews. And so our work with them goes far beyond just advertising, and it includes education for their partners, data analysis, and things just like how are reviews trending and changing for the destination. Yeah, there are a lot of ways, and I think one of the great things about TripAdvisor, although we may seem at times like an 800-pound gorilla, we don't have sort of a minimum or a destination below which we won't work. We have a team spread across the country that works with DMOs of all sizes, about 657 just for the Americas team alone. So that team is a resource, really, from a marketing standpoint and almost like a consulting standpoint.
Great. Well, I just want to remind everyone that we will be sharing a copy of the recording along with the slides later this week, so be on the lookout for that. I want to thank Steve and Ariane for being part of this webinar, and I want to pass over to Paul right now for some closing thoughts.
Well, thank you, Stephen and Ariane, for two great presentations. I think this is a topic that is of critical importance to each and every. Just wanted to make a comment here in closing is that on the DMEI website we do have a Destination Next Practice Handbook, which does have several case studies on some specific marketing practices. I think we're going to be working, via the current handbook, but in the meantime, studies on proximity marketing, social media command centers, and organic marketing that I would certainly encourage all of you to have a look at. Just in closing, thanks again to everyone for your participation today, and look out for notices for our webinar later in May. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good day.